Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to a double review today. Today I am reviewing Insidious and Insidious Chapter 2. Now I know there are 4 films in this franchise, however I haven't seen the 3rd and 4th one yet. I've not heard great things about those, so I'm just going to focus on the first 2 chapters because essentially they are films that focus on the Lambert family, Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, and their family. And these films are directed by James Wan. He obviously went on to, you could argue, bigger and better things with the Conjuring universe. But the Insidious films are very, very well made horror films, and he was perfecting his craft when he made these films, you could argue. So the first Insidious film was released in 2010. Again, obviously directed by James Wan. It stars Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne as the Lamberts. And we also have Lynn Shay, who has become something of a modern day scream queen, you could argue. And this film focuses on the Lambert family, who have moved into a new home, and some strange activity starts taking place after their son falls into a coma. Strangely, the doctors don't know what's wrong with him, they can't figure out what's wrong, he's just in a coma, and this supernatural activity starts happening around the house. Now what they'll learn later on by Lynn Shay, what they are told, is that their son has the ability to levitate out of his body and enter the spirit world, if you like, something called the further. Now when he enters this spirit world, he thinks he's just dreaming, if you like, as a child, but he can't get back, he's trapped in the further, hence why he's in a coma. But these spiritual entities are attracted to this living body, and they want to take it over while the vessel is empty, which is why the house is becoming haunted. And there are 2 very, very evil spirits that are very interested for different reasons. There's a demonic type spirit that wants to take over this body for its own use, and there is another evil, well, it's explained what it is in the second one, so I'll go into it a little bit further on when I review the second chapter 2. But there's another spirit that looks like a woman with like a dark veil and dark dress on, that has been following this family for quite some time, and in particular Patrick Wilson's character Josh has been following him since he was a little boy, which he had forgotten about or been made to forget. And this spirit has ulterior motives. It wants to use the boy to get through to get to Josh as an adult. So essentially that is this film, is this boy in a coma and this family trying to deal with this supernatural activity around the house, not wanting to believe what's happening initially, and then not having any choice but to believe what's happening later on, and bringing in Lynn Shay's character Elise Rayner, who is a spiritual medium who may or may not be able to assist them with this problem that they have. Now, I remember watching Insidious when it first came out, and it absolutely scared the pants off me. I thought it was a really well made horror film. I've watched both of them again recently to prepare for these reviews, and I think they really, really still stand up. Really well made. James Wan obviously has a real passion for horror. His scares are always generally earned. They're not cheap jump scares. The music in the Insidious films is almost a character in itself, very loud, very impactful, and you really take note when the musical score kicks in, and it really helps with the film. It also helps with the cast, the fact that Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne work really well together. Rose Byrne is very, very talented. She might be more known for comedy, but she handles these dramatic roles in these films superbly well. And Patrick Wilson, it might be unusual because you're more used to seeing him in the Conjuring films now, but he puts in a great performance here, and an even more impressive performance in the second film. So they're really good modern day horror films, really good like ghost story, house haunting type films with a little bit of a twist on it. It's not like the generalized, Amityville type, copycat horror haunting film. It puts its own twist on it. It gives it a bit of a modern feel, and the modern day direction from James Wan adds a little bit of spice to the flavour of this film. So yeah, I've got to say I really enjoyed it again after watching it. I watched it with my wife, who's not a huge fan of horror films, and it was really effective because she was jumping out of her skin watching it for the first time. So it still carries a bit of a punch today. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10 because it's a superbly made horror film, well crafted, well made, and it still stands up really well today, as people forget a little bit about these, and they've moved on more now to the Conjuring films. But the Insidious, in a lot of ways, the Insidious film, this first one, was very, very good indeed. Now, Insidious Chapter 2 was released in 2013, and it was again directed by James Wan, and it's had the same cast as before. We had Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne. We had an appearance from Lin Shaye. Now, if you've seen the first Insidious, you know what happens to Lin Shaye's character at the end of that film, and that follows on into the second film. And this film focuses on, it follows directly on from the first film. The shocking end to the first film essentially leaves Rose Byrne's character almost as a single parent, because Patrick Wilson is not himself by any stretch of the imagination. He is he's trapped in the further, and his body has been consumed by some evil entity. So this film focuses essentially on Rose Byrne trying her best to get some kind of plan together as to what she's going to do when she finally realizes that this is what's taking place. Barbara Hershey has a bigger role in the second one. She does a bit of investigating of her own, with some paranormal investigators, as to the true identity of the veil wearing, black dress wearing entity from the first Insidious film. So she does her own investigations with help as to the identity of that entity, and when they find out who it is, they are then confronted with the horrors of that truth, and what exactly they are dealing with, and what exactly Patrick Wilson's character Josh has become to a large degree. So we're still, the roles are kind of reversed here in regards to being trapped in the further, whereas in the first one it was the boy, in the second one it's the adult, it's Patrick Wilson's character. So they have to try and figure out how they're going to get into the further to bring him back this time. And it's, as sequels go, I think I'd only seen Insidious Chapter 2 once before, and I do remember being quite impressed with it, and I've watched it again to prepare for this review. And I was very, very impressed with how they continued the story, how they fleshed out the characters, not only the family and the other members of the family like Barbara Hershey, but also the entities as well, in regards to, they weren't just faceless entities that just want to take over and destroy and all the other stuff. They actually flesh them out, and they've got a past and they've got a history, and you understand why they are so evil. And I thought they handled that really, really well. I thought it wasn't just as effective. It took a little bit longer to get going, this one, in comparison to the first Insidious. But once it kicks in, once the horror really kicks in, it's kind of relentless, and it doesn't hold up, and there are some real genuine scares that go on here. Now, the only difference is, in the first one, that demonic creature that they had in there was so terrifying and so brilliantly filmed as into how effective it was. They don't really have anything like that in the second one as effective. But it still works as a sequel, I think. I'm going to give Insidious Chapter 2 an 8 out of 10. It's a really well made sequel. It perfectly ties into the first one, and they are both companion pieces to each other, and it's my understanding is that their story is told now, and I think Insidious Chapter 3 and 4 are two different tales, so which is why I felt it was appropriate to be able to do this as a double review, because the two stories rolled into one. Two different stories about the same family in two different movies. So there you go, that's my double review, Insidious Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, don't forget to click the like button, and if you're new to the channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I've got some more double reviews and triple reviews coming up. I'm going to do the Dark Knight trilogy as a triple review in the next few days, I think. And if you've got any ideas for triple reviews or double reviews, pop them in the comments and I will consider doing them, of course. So thanks for your support, everybody. Thanks for watching, and of course I'll see you next time on Screen Stars.